Okay. See, very simple thing. The PMP application has two major segments. One is your generic personal information, of course, like your name, all the blah blah blah, all those things. But then also certain things where you have a chance of where you may actually need to be a bit careful in wording. For example, your designation, your role, and all those things. That's one part. The other part is essay. And that essay basically will ask about your project management experience for 500 words. So first thing you have to remember is uh, whenever you talk see PMP exam, the eligibility criteria, there are multiple criteria. I will show you. Uh, you have seen eligibility criteria, right?
Yes, Bhuvan.
Uh, just a minute. Yeah, here it is. So basically, your high school, which is 12 years plus 4 months, 4 years, 12 plus 4 education. Then your see, most of us come into this set B or C. Most of us. Okay.
Mhm.
Yes, bachelor's degree or higher. Okay, most of us come in category B because we all have 12 plus 4 years of schooling, and we also will have to get this 35 hours. The difference between B and C is B has 36, 3 years of experience, and C is 2 years of experience. But then the difference is for category C, you must have a GAC's accredited program. Basically, GAC is PMI's Global Accreditation Council. Imagine we all do bachelor's and masters, but we don't do in project management. We do in engineering or maybe even MBA, but the MBA will not be in project management. And basically, there are many universities now which offer courses, undergraduation or post graduation, which have project management studies in them. Either the entire course is project MBA specialization in project management or MBA with project management as a paper, or even B Tech BE degrees that have a project management paper. And now many of them don't have accreditation from PMI. They just have it just like that. But there are many courses which can get accredited by GAC, Global Accreditation Council. They have to follow certain norms. The course content has to be structured in a way that PMI expects, and they go through kind of an audit and all those things. And then after following certain processes, PMI accredits these courses, and so they can say the universities can claim our course, be it an MBA or whatever project management course or whatever, it's accredited by GAC. And if you do that kind of accredited course, GAC accredited course, then you can have only 2 years of experience. But most of the cases, 99% of the time, it's not. So we do only our general BA, BTech, BE, BTech, MBA, and all those. So we come under set B. And this idea is when they talk of 3 years of leading and managing projects within the past 8 years. So you can take any experience in the last 8 years and you can make a mix and match. There are certain criteria. For example, at the same time, you are doing three projects. Imagine over a period of 6 months in last year, from January to June of 2024, you are involved in three projects at the same time. You cannot claim that as 3 times 6 months. It's still 1 time 6 months. Overlapping once, it should be considered as only one project. So that's one thing. Second thing is the projects can be multiple, not need not be in the last 8 years. You must have been continuously working or even continuously working in the same project. It could be anything. Main thing is anything beyond 8 years, you ideally should not show that as an experience for the PMP application. Should not be a problem. And the main point here is on the project management experience. It says leading and managing projects. This is what basically experience leading this is what stumps most of the people. See, this does not mean, this is the most important thing. This does not mean that you should have been a project manager, a designated project manager in the last 3 years or last 8 years. No. In that case, it will be very difficult because many people who write this exam are aspiring project managers. In principle, PMP is different from CAPM and from other non-PMI certifications in that this exam is unique and they want to make sure people who write this exam already know what project management is from experience, not just from theory. Even CAPM has 3,500 hours expectation. So this has 4,500 hours of expectation, or now it's not anymore 4,500, it says 3 years, roughly 4,500. So what you can do is, see, instead of saying I have studied project management, you also should have worked, but working in project management need not always mean that it is it's with a designation of project manager. Even when you are straight from college, your first day of job, you have participated in projects, you have been part of project teams, and you have basically worked, say, in many things. For example, in creating a requirements documentation. See, sometimes some people even say extremes. I have created meeting minutes, so that's also a project management activity in theory, yes, but better than that, if you have created a requirements documentation, if you have created a work breakdown structure, you have created a network diagram, you have done communications management, you handled the risk register, you have updated the risk register, you are the owner of a risk in a risk register, you are responsible for managing the stakeholder directory or register. Any of the activities, that experience can be considered. You need not always be a designated project manager. That's the point here. So if you say, hey, you know what, I am writing the PMP examination to be a project manager, to get promoted to be a project manager, you're asking me to be already a project manager to write the exam, it's chicken and egg problem. No. If you have participated in project management activities in the last 8 years and the sum total of those is 36 months, that's also good enough. So you should be very cognizant of this fact. And what was the other thing? Yes. Also, Bhavya, were you able to open the application by any chance?
Yes, Bhuvan. I have logged into the site. Maybe I'll present.
Could you please share the screen? I will stop the presenting. Because the essay part, we can talk about that, how to write the application, but also other than the essay, there are certain things. Many times people have questions. How do I give my designation? How do I mention my work experience and all those things? That's good.
Bhuvan, is the screen visible?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Mhm. Could you help me navigate to the right section where I could download the form itself?
There's no downloading the form. It's online filling. Just a minute. Ah, um, just go to you're in your dashboard, right? Go to certifications
Yes. Mhm.
and go to, yes, PMP. Second one.
Once, sir, did we start the recording?
Yes. It started. It started. It
Okay.
started. Sorry. Yeah, it's OBS Studio. It's, yeah. I'll put this recording on our WhatsApp group. Apply now. So all the best. You're starting your application. Nice.
Thank you, Bhuvan.
No issues here. And any questions that we don't get answered here, you can also put on the group. If we miss, we can always do it. Yeah. So, okay, some of these are basic.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, and come down. Professional education. Professional education is your certifications related to project management or to PMP. Imagine you have done a CAPM. Because this is the 35 hours. So you did the 35 hours through which ATP,
Uh,
Bhavya?
through Andrew Ramdayal's Udemy course,
You
Bhuvan.
do have a certificate for that, right?
Yes, I am yet to download it, but yeah, I've
It's a
completed the
paid one, right?
course. Yes, Bhuvan, that is a paid one.
Are
Yes.
you from Bosch, by the way?
Yes, Bhuvan, I'm from
So
Bosch.
you did it through the JKL, Udemy for Business, U4B.
Uh,
license?
no, I took the JKL budget for taking the membership for PMI that I
Okay,
paid by
okay, okay,
myself.
okay. Good, good. No problem. So this professional education is exactly that. Get the certificate for them.
I'll just also make notes in parallel.
No, no, no issues, no issues. Okay. Then, say, for example,
Right.
do one thing. For a moment, put a dot so that it allows you to do some dummy or some closest thing. You have to start from highest level of education itself. You have to select because these are all mandatory fields. So bachelor degree probably. Start here. You can put the correct information itself here. For where you need the detailed things, you can just put a dot dot and you can. If you do have a higher education beyond bachelor's, you can enter it later. Yeah. I think you'll have something like engineering. Yeah. Save that. Worst case, you know what? You can always create multiple applications. After 90 days, if you don't submit the application, it will automatically expire. You can always create a new application. Not a problem. Until and
Okay, I'll have
unless
to.
you make the payment. See, generally, once you submit the
Mhm.
application, it will go for a review. It's not an audit, it's a review. Basically, they look at the correctness of the application, and I think it happens for every single person nowadays. I think it's a process now, so it will not be immediately approved or something. Basically, a team of volunteers will review the correctness of the application to sync. Any questions or clarifications or anything that you need to, your application will be sent back. It will not be rejected. It will be sent back. You say, hey, the way you wrote your essay, basically, it's not clearly convincing that you do have satisfy this eligibility criteria. Something you can always update it and send. I think a couple of times you can always do it. After that review comes the main thing. One out of two things will happen. Either you'll say, hey, your application is clear, go ahead and make the payment, and your 1 year starts. You have to make the payment, you have to schedule an exam, you have to write the exam plus two reattempts if needed, all within 1 year. Or they say your application has been selected for audit arbitrary, very randomly they pick applications. In that case, your clock stops. So you'll be given a link. You have to download certain forms. You have to fill certain things, get signature or attested by certain people, certain references. And then I think you have 45 days or something to do it, or 90 days. I don't remember. You do that. And once they review it, and then they say, yes, now you can make the payment, then the 1 year starts. So this is how the process is. Not all applications are audited. All applications are reviewed. Audit, it's very random. See, for example, in all my four PMI certifications, it was never audited. The thing is, so it's just random. What they will audit? Very simple. You are claiming some things in your bachelor education, master's education, professional education, the 35 hours, and then some work experience, and certain things you're stating in your essay. They will ask for references. Example, your bachelor education, they will ask your degree certificate, bachelor or master. Your 35 PDUs, they will ask the PDU certificate and make sure it's an ATP. Sometimes some big companies like Bosch, Infosys and everything, L&T, they have their own academies inside. So they may or may not be ATPs. Even if they're not ATPs, still the certificates from the courses you did from inside these companies are still accepted. It's not black and white, it must be from an ATP. Of course, it's on a case by case basis. For companies like Bosch, what I have done always in my 4 PMI certifications, I've taken courses from my company, my previous company before Bosch or now in Bosch. Whatever PM certifications I did or related to project management, the leadership courses, say 10 hours here, 5 hours there, 2 hours here, like that, I have packed them, come to 35 hours and I have submitted, they have been accepted. So this is how it is. So now you can just, this is now 36 months. So now you see, here is important thing. Project title, always be careful for any company. You can put a generic title. Ideally, I would recommend not to reveal the uh, actual the business confidential information. So you don't have to reveal the OEM's name, the customer's name, and everything. Do not do that. And but you can say, for example, software development for say electrical power steering for European OEMs, EU OEMs, for example. Like that, you can talk about this much level of specificity you can do, but not mentioning any customer name or something. So that's the thing. And imagine you have been engaged in three projects, three similar kinds of projects, all for European Union OEMs. You can still say small differences. You can say for you can say application development software. You can say some differences. You can just pick and choose if you're going to give more than one project with a similar category. There are people who give only one project for all the 36 months because I've been working in the same project for a long time. I've not changed and I can give that experience. Why not? This is one. And what was the next question? Project title, organization you should talk about. And be very careful when you're filling this. If your application gets selected for audit arbitrarily, you must get references for these things. So the recommendation is be very careful. You can create an Excel file and you can do all these things on the Excel file first. You can also mark the person if there is someone who can vouch for it. See, mostly if it's current projects, get from your current manager. Need not be your manager, supervisor alone. It can be from your peers also. Do the thumb rule is you should get it from your manager. You can get it from your peers also. And speak to those people. Tell them, hey, you know what? I'm applying for the PMP certification. I'm filling my application. I had to give some work experience, and I'm going to mention this project. This is, you can show them before you submit it, show them the exact text that you have written. And I'm going to, so far, you don't have to give a reference now. That's the difference. When I did 10 years, 11 years back, I was asked to give references at that time itself. Now you don't have to. If your application is selected for audit, they may ask you. And please tell this person, him or her, that if my application is selected for audit, I want to have you as one of the people giving the references for this particular thing. So for degree and education and everything, it's black and white certificates. For experience, you need to get people's this thing. So you can do that. And job title. Job title is, for example, you are working as a software engineer, senior software engineer, associate project manager, program manager, or anything. And functional reporting area, you can just type some dummy for the time moment. You can type some dummy in all the three mandatory columns, some XYZ something. Just you can put, or you can put dot dot dot. And also very specific titles, project names or something like they are. You don't have to, but sometimes it helps.
Mhm.
See, you can use specific terms if it does not. Make sure you can even give PF07 as the name of the project, no problem. Do it. But don't mention the customer's name. Then go to, yeah, you can, and generally in companies, right, don't mention BGSW, you can mention Bosch or Bosch BGSW. That's the big company name. Because, for example, even companies like Conti or even CTS, they have their own names, development center, offshore development center, or whatever it is. You can mention the big name, yeah, the parent company's name, Bosch BGSW. Then job title, say, for example, project manager. Or when you go for a reference, in case your application is picked for audit, they should say,
Mhm.
yes, Bhavya really worked in this project with this title in this company. Of course, in this, I'm still the same associate project manager in this role, blah, 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 and all this. They can, so just show them the application before you submit it. If they suggest some corrections, please do it and submit it. You don't have to give the exact designation, exact these things, not necessarily. So then you can go for 1 second. So, yeah. So it will be in engineering or So closest will be in R&D, but go up. Come down. Sorry, R&D or
Mm.
ITIRAS. PM department or PMO also you can put, for example, or research R&D is the closest for engineering. That is whichever. These are three things: research R&D, PM department or PMO, or ITIS. These are the three things for engineers generally.
Okay.
Organization, automotive, right at the top. Then approach methodology, I think agile and everything to ask. So in your case, yeah, I don't know, agile or hybrid or
We follow the waterfall
traditional
model. We still follow.
waterfall. And team size, you can give the team size. And see, some of these are sensitive things like project budget and everything, right? It's very sensitive, but it's okay. Give a ballpark figure. I think you have a drop down only.
Okay.
You can. And project dates,
Uh,
month
Bhuvan,
usually.
maybe one small question here.
Hmm.
So, for
Yeah,
example, regarding the team size and the project budget, this could also be a rough estimate. This need
rough
not be the
estimate.
exact.
Rough estimate. No, no, not necessarily. No.
So,
And
even if
also,
there are 10 people, I can still put it as 5 to 9, say, for
yes,
example.
exactly. See, the definition of a project also, right, varies. According to PMI, according to PIMBO, a project is anything that has a clear start and end date, and that produces a unique product, service, or result, and then it's temporary in nature. And each company defines projects in different ways. Imagine for the last 3 4 years you're in the same project, but same project, it could be a program also. You'll be doing lots of sub projects. So what is a program, what is a project, what is a sub project? The definitions change, and all of them could be right. So you can say what I did in the 3 months, I'm changing things. That could be a project. Or no, these are all sub projects. What I did for 3 years, that's a project. Or no, that's a program. You can define, because there's no
Okay.
standard definition that companies follow for what a project is. So just choose random thing. For example, it should be in the last 8 years. And in progress means then just click that in progress and that's done. Or if it's a past project, yeah. Now comes the project description. Here is where I can quickly share my screen. Give me a minute. I am going to share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So these are some tips. So of course, as I said, no confidential information, like the customer names or anything that business information strategies that can be revealed. You don't have to. Remember, this is not your CV. When I say, just a minute. So when I say this is not your CV, you don't have to give the entire history of what you did. And you have a limited thing. It's actually the application is easy now. It's easier than before. See, basically, when I say this is not your CV, you're not applying to get a job. And the intent is not for them to scrutinize how good you did your, how well you did your job, or all those, what are the achievements? Did you win any awards, appreciations from the customer? No, 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 no. The aim of this application is to find, do you really have the project management experience that's needed over the last 8 years? A total of 36 months or 3 years equivalent of project management experience, do you have or not? So you should technically convince the volunteers who are basically reviewing your application or PMI, for example, that you do have this. So fix a purpose. That's what PMP or PMI is looking for. So I'll give you some bad examples to start with. I have been an engineer, a junior engineer. I have been doing this, that, blah, 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 blah. Talk about, and I have been an office assistant. I have basically supported in language translation. All this. Seriously, you read all these things. For the sake of PMP exam, not good enough. I'm not saying these roles are not good enough. How you portray, even if you're doing a translation service, imagine it's part of project management. This translation service was critical to your business. And instead of saying I translated documents, you can say I enabled the teams to understand the requirements better by getting them translated into English, for example. So, per se, what you did, it's not important. How you portray, because anything you do can be presented as a project management activity. I do not mean that you can fudge around the data, manipulate. No. What I mean is, you can bring in the project management element of whatever you did. If you think, no, no, in the early parts of my career, I was not really doing it, leave it out. Because at this stage, when you think you are eligible to apply for the PMP examination, very surely you can get 36 months of experience of doing project management in some capacity. Because you don't have to be a designated project manager. You have to be participating in project management activities. So that is a purpose. What PMP exam is really looking for and what is your target. So that's the first thing. Then I think you have a 500 word limit, right? So make full use of it. And this making full use of it, it's not easy because we go to two extremes. One is we find it difficult to fill the essays. On the other extreme, we write so much we don't know, we run out of space. I always give this example or give this tip to people. 1 minute, Lakshmi, I'll just finish this sentence alone. The tip I give to people is usually for awards also in Bosch when I guide people for the awards many times, various awards. Uh, Keep your brain free when making these essays. How? Just take a notepad, dump. I even use the word vomit. Every information you have, dump on it. So make sure you have everything. In the first round, all your experience, what you want to talk about as bullet points. Second round, you sort them from highest importance to lowest importance. You have a 500 word limit. Even within the 500 word limit, if, for example, someone is going to look at only the first three or four sentences, see, we're all volunteers. There are volunteers who review the application and everything. So they have limited time. They do a lot of applications they review. So they may not have the attention span. So try to grab their attention in the very first few sentences. So when you are dumping all your mind, memory, right points as bullet points in a notepad, then you sort out, pick the most important things that will talk about your project management experience in the first five sentences or so. So even if these reviewers do not have time or attention span later, at least they've seen this important things at the beginning. That's one. And then that way you make sure your full 500 word limit is used, but also if they don't read your entire application, at least they've read the important ones which are at the beginning. So, and always talk of the most recent, latest experience first. And all these things you can do better if you're going to bullet in some notepad, sort and segregate, and then you transfer it to this. Nothing wrong in writing bullet points in that application, that space. You don't have to make sentences, but decent sentences in the bullet points. Not very cryptic sentences, not essay type. Bullet points with neat sentences and everything. Now, but above all these things, there's something very important, which is structure. But before that, Lakshmi, you raised your hand. Please ask this. You have something to ask. See, yeah.
I was just thinking because latest we are using AI for having better phrasing of sentences and words.
Beautiful, beautiful. That is something I have never done, and that's a new one. Chat GPT or something. Do that. But, but use it carefully. I don't think there's a plagiarism check, and you're not going to use someone else's experience as yours. Understood. But be very careful. AI The chat GPTs and everything, Gen AIs are also only as good as the results you give, as good as the prompts that you give. So prompt the engine properly. For that, my recommendation from experience is of using Gen AI. Also, you already dump your mind map, then you sort and segregate them, the bullet points, and then feed that to ChatGPT. You can ask, can you please word them better? You can even ask, I am a PMP. In one of the basic rules in prompt engineering, you can even assume the role. I am applying, I am filling my application for PMI's PMP examination. I have to mark down my experience. Below is a list of points to talk about my experience. Can you help me word them better? And then you give them. So simply if you say, can you reword my this thing for what? For your job application, for your interview, for your group discussion, for what? For an elevator pitch, for what? So as a PMP examination applicant, something like that, then it helps. Then comes up, that's a good question. Thanks. This is an aspect I never worked on for this purpose. Structure, I would tell you very simple thing. Always see, don't assume everyone knows about you, knows everything about you. It may be the biggest company on earth. It may be Google, Apple, Amazon, Bosch, CTS, TCS, Infosys, doesn't matter. Write one line. I'll talk about Bosch. Bosch is the world's number one or biggest tier one supplier in the automotive field. Then next line. First, always write about your company first in that experience. Next, write about your business division. What are you working for? Which business division, Bhavya, you're working for?
EM, Bhuvan.
Which
Electrification.
electrification? EM, right?
But yeah.
So my division, electrified motion, EM, does blah blah blah. You don't, I don't know exactly what things so do that. Always the company's intranet portal. If you go, one of the first few lines will have the answer. Copy paste that. Simply copy paste. So one line about the company, one line about your business division. Third sentence will be about your particular team. In EM, your particular team, you don't have to write an entire hierarchy. Your particular team, what it works for. If, is yours a functional safety team?
No, Bhuvan, this is battery management system team.
Hmm.
BMS,
So
software
talk about
development.
that. Talk about what your team does, your department or team means your department. It should be the closest to business unit what you're working for. It could be a team, it could be a project team, it could be a department, whatever it is, section, whatever it is in Bosch. Right? The third line could be about that. And then fourth line, write about your project. Give a one-line description of your project. My project, what is the output of your project? What is the deliverable, high-level outcome or output of your project? My project in electrification, my project works. And I'm giving an example. My project creates a new or takes care of or through my project or in our project we develop say so and so software hardware systems for electrified vehicles or electric vehicles, the latest generation, blah blah blah. One line description of your project. You can take from your project charter basically if you have one. Yeah, this project charter is the place that will
Okay.
always have this. So already four
Yes.
sentences: your company, your division, your team, and then your project. Generic, four things are done. Then you talk about you, what your role is. Always talk about your role, not designation, associate project manager. No, no, no. Your role. As you can talk about designation also as an associate project manager in this project, or your designation in Bosch may be associate project manager, but your role may be you are basically a project coordinator or you are a requirements engineer or you are whatever. Talk about that role. In that role, you say, my role is taking care of all this, blah, 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 or I am responsible for handling. Imagine your team is 20 people. of capacity, and you are handling directly 10 people, or one segment of the project. In my role as associate software engineer or associate project manager in this project, I take care of blah blah blah, one or two phrases of all this. So it talks about the big picture, then it talks very specifically what your role inside the project is. Done. Then after this, what are your responsibilities? So in your role, you are expected to do high level one or two things alone. You take care of. It could be a technical explanation also, but make sure some project management responsibilities are coming out in that sentence. Then when you come to responsibilities, then you talk of responsibilities. I am responsible for customer interface. I am responsible for how to say documenting the customer requirements. I am responsible for negotiating the customer requirements. I am responsible for these things, whatever or I do. So write about three or four things. You can use two or three or four sentences about what are in a general day's work in that particular role you talked about in the previous sentence. What are the things you are expected to do? Then the next few sentences about what you do and what your accomplishments have. I have. The difference is very simple. As a customer project manager, for example, I'll talk about myself. As a customer project manager for automotive steering, I have ownership of the entire end-to-end product and profitability of the entire product. I am the face of Bosch to the customer and vice versa. This is my role. What are my responsibilities? As a customer project manager, I ensure that the requirements of the customer are translated or transitioned into a clear project management plan, into a clear work breakdown structure, into a clear schedule, for example, all these things. Now, what do I do to deliver this responsibility? What are the tasks that I do? I, for example, here this is the meat of your application that defines, are you really doing project management activities? Whatever your role or designation is, are you really doing project management activities? I organize the customer meetings. I take the lead and represent Bosch in these customer meetings. I convert the outcomes of these meetings into actionable deliverables. I liaison with the various engineering leads like software, hardware, etc., into creating a clear costing and scheduling structure. I uh, ensure or I track the progress of the deliverables, both in terms of schedule using the Gantt chart and the cost using the agreed upon budget plan with the customer. I'm talking about my role. You can have equivalent from your role. I very most interesting thing, risk management. I am the owner of the risk. As the owner of the risk register for my project, I ensure that all the risks are captured through constant interaction with the stakeholders, including the customer, my management, my peers, my team members, and everything. I assign ownership of various risks to my team members, or I have assigned ownership of various team members, and through constant risk management meetings, I ensure the risks are constantly monitored and controlled. And I represent or I present the status of the project regularly to the management through quality gate reviews and other PEP, product engineering process reviews, and also share regularly the status of the project's progress in terms of QCD, quality, cost, and delivery to the customer through regular interactions. See, these are the tasks that you do. So now you know you are coming systematically from your role, what your role is in the bigger picture of the entire project. Then what are the expected responsibilities of a person of your role, for anyone in your role? That's the responsibilities. Then what you have actually done in that role, the details, tasks, and this tasks is the meat. Then why do we don't jump to that directly? That's what many people do. They write that directly. The problem is there are two advantages of going in the systematic way. One, sometimes it needs this information to convince PMI that you are indeed doing a project management thing. It helps place you in the bigger picture of the project. Second, even if they can understand, there is someone who is experienced, they can quickly read and understand. Doesn't matter. Even then, it helps you to get a good insight. So I always tell people when you write, you are writing an exam to be certified as a project management professional. So behave like a project manager. So think systematically. You're talking about and you're articulating to a stranger, you're articulating what you are doing. It helps you in your everyday work also. My company, my division, my department or team, me in my role, me has expectations I do, and me in everyday life. And then finally, achievements. I have brought in here, you can talk like a CV itself. Numbers, because always have quantitative data. Quantitative not does not always mean only numbers, specifics. By talking about your responsibilities and tasks, you're being specific. You're not just saying I'm a project manager, I'm running meetings, I'm taking notes, minutes of meeting. No, no, you're talking about requirements negotiation. You're talking about risk register. You own the risk register. How you create, update, and track the risks. You basically use these forums like project status report meetings, quality gate meetings, prep review meetings. You're talking data numbers, names. So that way, by giving specific names, you're telling them you're not bluffing. You are actually doing real project management, and then you top it off with numbers if you can. My project, you already have given the budget of your project, some 1 million, 2 million, or this range. Because of your work in the project, what has been the impact, qualitative or quantitative? I was responsible for my business division winning the next generation projects. For example, through my activities, I was responsible for my company winning contracts, or I have reduced, see metrics, I have reduced the ticket resolution time or turnaround time or SLAs significantly by 20%. You can also write how. By smart allocation of the tickets, by smart scheduling, by parallel process, by fast tracking, whatever it is. I have reduced the costs by 10 percentage. I have reduced or I have reduced the defects or increased the defect detection. I've prevented at least 30% of defects from seeping into the next level, defect seepage metrics. And that's it. This is basically your marketing, though that's not the intention of this particular application. It helps. Always right as project managers, we get limited opportunities, black and white if you see, but in essence, we get so much opportunities. Every opportunity is every interaction or transaction is an opportunity to market yourself. We project managers or salespeople to start with. So we are showmen or showwomen. That's exactly what we should do. So that gives you practice to talk about yourself. And be careful. The last point is use good English grammar. ChatGPT will help you. Choice of words. For example, don't use negative words. Instead of saying I prevented 20% of defects from leaking to the next, that's a very strong statement. Good. But you can say I ensured that 20% of defects were caught in the early stage itself. 20% more defects than before were caught in the early stages, for example, were detected. And always use assertive language. Don't say I supported, I coordinated, this even sometimes I recommend not using words like I was responsible for. You were responsible, but did you do it? So this is the difference. Use assertive language. Be careful. You should not be boastful, but nothing wrong. If you want to err on the side of being boastful, tell them that you did that. They're not going to come and interview you. Of course, be honest. But if you think, see, imagine you one simple example. There's one way to say that you are, after all, only documenting the meeting minutes. That's a supporting role. The same thing you put a different way. I ensured the real spirit of the customer's expectations and requirements were caught in the discussions and translated to actionable deliverables. Same thing, but you're putting it in a different way. You can use this. 90% of people who write the application don't use this what we are discussing now. There are people who write things which normally I would say horrible, no problem. But these are some good things. It will help you not only in the PMP application, but later when preparing for the exam, your mindset. Rita Mulcahy talks of PMI isms. How to think like a project manager. It's basically the one of the first steps, the PMP application, in thinking as a project manager. Because Rita Mulcahy says PMI ism. When you are a project manager, it means you're managing a project that is geographically distributed across the entire globe, a big, big billions of dollars project. You get a big team and you're God, whatever you ask, the management will give all the resources. That's a mindset when you look at any question in the PMP examination. And that's how you can also write this PMP exam application. Got it? I know it's not how you usually discuss a PMP application, but this is something that you can. Any questions?
Bhuvan, maybe one question. Yeah, the flow is really nice, but I was not able to get the thin line of a difference between the role and what we are doing on a day-to-day task perspective.
Very
So
simple.
role was clear. Mhm.
Second. One second. I was replacing the. Uh, Sorry, just give me a moment. Okay. Uh, just give me half a minute. See, the bottom line is, um, we don't see life is short, career is even shorter. We do get a very limited number of opportunities. So rather than looking at an opportunity to do 10 things, 10 opportunities to do 10 things, you look at one opportunity where you can do all the 10. You may not be expected in that particular role on that particular occasion to do, but you still go ahead and do it. It's a practice because free of cost by writing the PMP application, free of cost, you're getting practice to think as a PM at project manager when writing the PMP examination. The PMIism gets into your head. Free of cost, you get an opportunity to talk about yourself to a customer or to a management and as a professional. So use that opportunity. There are two ways to do it. You can treat it as a simple PMP application and you can just write something good enough that gets reviewed, successfully approved, even audited and everything. So you can go ahead. But we'll have spent 2 hours in preparing an application and achieved only one output. But you can spend 3 hours but gain something for life. So this is basically economizing the opportunities. That's it. I think this thing. Yeah. So any questions? Please, you can ask. Any other questions? Of course, once you write the application, you can put it on the group itself, on the WhatsApp group. So many of us are there. We can review the application for you. If I don't have time, Lakshmi can. If Lakshmi doesn't have time, somebody else can. There are so many people who can review it. And then, yeah, you can ask questions on the group also. Yeah.
I think, Bhavya, you will be doing it first in the Word file or Excel file, right? Then only you will be copy
Uh,
pasting it in the main file, right?
yes, Lakshmi. Yeah, this is what Bhuvan sir is given a hint that I would follow
It's
this.
easy. Yeah. And see, sometimes, see, I told you it's not a big deal. You can type directly on that application. Or sometimes it's easier to type directly on the portal than doing all this Word Excel. You can do it unless you click submit. It's you're not,
Mhm.
you always have, despite everything at the end, you have an extra submit button. Till you do that, nothing is gone. So you can do it. The advantage is if you do it on a Word file or something, you can share it with other people to ask them to
Correct.
review. Otherwise, you have to send screenshots of everything, and it's
It's a
unwieldy. So
little irritating.
that's the advantage. Just you can send the same thing to 100 people and ask them to review if you do it on a external file. And always see, try to you have just done the 35 hours or something, right? Try to write the exam in the next 45 days. Your brain otherwise will forget. It will lose. That's, I think, worst case. I say 3 months, but try to write, finish the application, close it, and pay the money. Once you pay the money, the 1 year period starts automatically. Now the fire you have to, and then book an exam slot, date, center, or from home, whatever, na proctored exam, whatever it is, automatically. Because every time you have to reschedule the exam, you have to pay additionally. So just do that. Finish it. Get it. Because projects don't last forever. This is a project. So don't let it last forever. Right? It should have a clear end date. You have already have a start date now. Have a clear end date. So that's basically what we do. Any questions anytime on the WhatsApp group you can also do. Yeah. Any other
There was one
questions?
more question.
Hmm?
Yes, there was one more question regarding the exam content outline. So it is told that we follow the seventh edition of the PM walk. Most of the things would come from there. But it is recommended, I think, in the last session, we were discussing that exam content outline is the book that we all have to
That's
refer
the truth.
to, and it
That's
is
the
not
truth.
the PM walk. Yeah.
Most people don't
I
realize
wanted to
it.
know what.
PMP exam
Yes.
was and is never based on PMBOK. PMBOK is the guide, reference. It's the exam, not only PMP, ACP, PBA, CAPM. You take any exam, everything has its own exam content outline. And freely you can, even if you're not a member, you can simply Google it and take it. Or from PMI.org, you can take it free without a login. Or I don't know, it needs a login, but without being a member, you can still access. And the exam content outline is basically the syllabus, what we the equivalent. It talks about what are the different areas that will be covered in the exam, what institution. Earlier it was the five process groups. Now it is the people process business. How much percentage, and then the tasks, enablers, and everything. So it's basically it sets the expectations. What are you being assessed on in the exam? That's the ECO. So you are being assessed on your ability to do to satisfy the customer.
Mhm.
To satisfy the customer, should have a constant communication channel. You should have a clear picture of the big picture view of the project. You should have a clear view on the schedule. You should have a clear view on the costs. Should also make sure you're getting the buy-in. One thing is that will help you, it will enable you to be a successful project manager, is to get the buy-in from your management. But to get buy-in from the management, you have to have a transparent reporting structure. They should report risks honestly then and there. You should know how to ask for support. Asking for support is not, I'm just giving a high level. This may not be the exact tasks and enablers. I'm just giving the spirit of it. So that's it. And of course, the reference could be the latest PMBOK version 7, but I always recommend people to also refer version 6 and Agile Processing Guide. The difference is version 6, up to version 6, it was process based. Inputs, tools, techniques, outputs, the five process groups, the 10 knowledge areas, and everything. Version 7 is principle based. So, to put it very crudely, instead of saying how to do project management, it says why you should do the principles. But the principles are also related to the processes that we learned up to version 6 of PMBOK. There is a correlation, but it's also simple. Rather than growing the PMBOK by adding too many things, it has kept it lean, and anything, the use cases, the practices, and everything, it will keep online. PM standards sorry, PM standards plus. You refer, there'll be more explanation to the processes, there'll be more use cases and everything. So this is the difference. Now version 8 is coming. The review just got over in January. Soon, I don't know, this year or next year will come. The exam will not change because version 8 has come. Maybe the exam content outline may be updated. It has not been updated for a long time, I believe. Since 2021, it has been the same, if I'm not wrong. Maybe it undergoes a change. And version 8 of PMBOK talks more about values, if I'm not wrong. Something, it's all different paradigm shifts with ages. Agile used to be a special thing when version 4 or 5 came. Then version 6 and everything, 5 or 6 only, I think it got the separate Agile practice guide.
23 was Agile.
First time we got the separate Agile practice guide. Then in 7, they say Agile is a way of life. So why do you basically talk about it separately? Hybrid approach. The exam also changed, but hybrid approach does not mean black and white, agile plus traditional. Hybrid approach is very important. See, they say the exam is 50% hybrid approach and 50% traditional. But hybrid approach means how you decide what approach to use. That's hybrid. So the questions, when you answer a question, you have to understand, is the situation plan driven or change driven? And if it is plan driven, you choose traditional approach. If it's change driven, you choose agile approach. And then you answer the question accordingly. So it makes you even evaluate a situation, what is driving the situation, and then you interpret the question accordingly, and then you fit an approach to it. That's what we do in everyday life. You have agile teams. Some people have tradition. You said yours is a traditional project. That means you have a full plan, 2 years, 3 years, you develop. Sometimes you may be working in a safe team, scaled agile framework, a scrum team, for example, and all those. Or sometimes you are working in a traditional team with bits and pieces of agile practices thrown around. You do stand-up meetings, you use Kanban boards, use all those things. It could be anything, but the idea is, as a project manager, we
Mhm.
are the champions, we are the masters. There may be processes. That's why PMBOK guide is a guide. It's not a black and white take and use. It gives you a collection of best practices that have worked in the past, cautions that may not have worked in the past, and it has tailorings. You have to tailor according to your industry, to your company, to your domain, to your own project team, to the situation, to the enterprise environmental factors, right? Company culture, and also you have to tailor it. So that's what a PMBOK is. But in hindsight, that's common sense. If everything is there and you blindly take and use it, we don't need project managers. I always tell people in trainings on earned value management, expected monetary value, and all this formulas and everything. If project management is only about using formulas, even our kids can do it. My kid who is in school, he can actually do it himself. We don't need. What do you do with the numbers? For example, you have a risk management decision to make. You have two scenarios. In one scenario, you win $100,000. In another scenario, you lose $20,000. Black and white means take 100,000 plus and use it. But life is not about black and white. Then in a robot, that's where AI or robots can replace project managers. The decision, the human in the loop, that's where project managers come in, right? Should I really go for this or that based on my listening? Because we deal with people, we deal with situations, we can think in ways that AI, at least today, cannot think. Emotions, everything, applying them. So project management, PMBOK says at the very beginning, it's the application of your knowledge and skills to successfully delivering a project. But applying the knowledge and skill comes with an X factor, the human factor. So that's a difference, and that's how you also view the questions. You decide the approach, traditional or agile. So hybrid is not a mix of traditional and agile per se, like some people say. It is deciding what the situation demands and then interpreting the question, the situation, and then answering. So That is the same thing you talk about version 6 or version 7. It's not that just study version 7, you'll become. Version 7 carries over a lot of things from the previous 6 versions with a slightly different approach. So it doesn't cost anything to go through version 6 to understand the older paradigm of project management. And if by the time you write the exam, version 8 has come, have a look at it also. Right? Ours is a very dynamic profession. It's not a static one. So that's a long answer to your question. Yeah. Good. Any other
It's
questions?
also our
Oh, no, no questions from my side. Thank you.
Anything
Thanks a
else
lot,
comes
Bhuvan
up?
sir.
No problem. Ping on the WhatsApp group. Just call me Bhuvan, no sir. Now always Lakshmi also uses the word sir. So just call me Bhuvan. It's okay. Yeah. Good. I will stop the recording now. I'll put this on our WhatsApp group. I'll try to put it on the YouTube channel and then put the link. That's easier. Thanks. So